Every weekday between 1 and 2 p.m., we release our Central Indiana Scoreboard Show with scores and highlights and details from high school, college, and professional sports all through Central Indiana. We focus on the Pacers, Fever, the Colts, IU, Purdue, Ball State, Taylor, Indiana Wesleyan, IUK, Anderson, and high school sports in Blackford, Delaware, Grant, Howard, Madison, Tipton, and northern Hamilton counties. Please join us again every weekday, sometime between 1 and 2 p.m. What you're listening to now is the Central Indiana Sports Report podcast number 270.3. 5 questions that need answers with Will Retherford. This week, Will answers questions about the NBA and the Pacers Knicks series, the Indy 500, the Fever, and the Stanley Cup Final Four.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
All right. Welcome, sports fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report. I'm your host, Greg Mengelt, here with Will Retherford to answer his weekly 5 questions out at Stage 22 in beautiful Elwood, Indiana. Hopefully this wind isn't bothering you because we're actually out on Stage 22 for the first time this year, Will.
Yes.
One of the best places on the planet to podcast, assuming, again, that the wind isn't bothersome. And I don't believe with these lapel mics they will be, but sorry if they are, everybody. Today, Will is going to answer 5 questions, 2 about the NBA, 1 about the Indy 500, 1 about your Fever, and 1 about the Stanley Cup Playoffs. Will, are you ready to go? Man, what a busy time.
It is. I mean, it's quite literally the only sport not going on right now is football. I mean, it's kind of a equinox of sports in amongst itself. I mean, you've got 6 major leagues competing right now for something. I mean, the WNBA is just getting started, but you got playoffs for 2 leagues. You've got the 500, which is basically the playoff for IndyCar.
The biggest event in the world for that sport.
And then you've got, I mean, NASCAR's going. You've got Formula One will be at Monaco. I mean, it's a huge, huge sports week right now.
And it's just in Central Indiana alone, we have the starting Tuesday night Fever Pacers pretty much every night this week
for the rest of the month.
For what? Let's hope.
It's
not quite like that.
Well,
the Fever have a couple times where they have a couple days off, but for the next couple of weeks, it's literally every other day. Plus, we have Carb Day and Race Day coming up. Girls tennis sectionals start this week. The track sectionals are this week. Softball gets going next week. Baseball the following week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's probably a busier time in the year for the Central Indiana Sports Report.
It's going to get really slow here, and I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks. We're going to be scratching for things to talk about. But right now, there's a plethora.
It'll be about 6 weeks, I think, before we're really starting.
Well, that's true because it's sexual doesn't mean. I mean, teams are going to be moving on and continuing.
Plus, the NBA Finals goes for
middle of June.
More. Yeah.
Middle of June is when it's going to get.
July might be rough at times, but
a lot of baseball though. A lot of baseball.
We love baseball
and
a lot of fever.
A lot of fever.
A lot of IndyCar.
Yep.
So let's start with the NBA. Question number 1, and I know that we're going to be doing our NBA. Or our Eastern Conference Finals preview on Wednesday morning's Central Indiana Sports Report. But how many games does it take for the Pacers to win the Eastern Conference Finals?
I think this is going to be really physical. I think 7 is realistic. I think they steal one in the Garden to win Game 7. I think they just wear the Knicks out. I think this is kind of similar to the Cavs series. It's a clash of styles. New York kind of likes to slow it down, play more physical,
more half court.
Yeah, much more half court. And you saw that's what Cleveland didn't fare very well for them. They look tired. They look slow there in the last couple games. So I mean, you're going to see. This is exactly where I said the Pacers were going to be the whole year we talked about them. I said this team is an Eastern Conference Finals team, fringe Finals team. I'm just happy that it's manifested that way because they've been so exciting to watch. And I think last year the Pacers were just kind of lucky to be there in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, hey, we're
I'm glad
here.
you finally joined me on that.
And now I think this year it is, hey, they're
completely
not.
Legit.
It's completely legit, and they're completely deserving. They deserve to be there. I think you could say that they've been the best team in the playoffs thus far in either conference. I think the Pacers have outplayed their competition better than anyone else. So, yeah, I see this being super physical. I wouldn't be shocked if the Knicks go up 2-0. I wouldn't be shocked if the Pacers come home and match them, and it's 2-2 going back to New York for Game 5. That's just kind of where this series is going to go. I think it's just going to take the Pacers. If the Pacers get one in the Garden at any point, they're winning the series. It's just going to be win and where.
Speaking of the Knicks, the last time we saw them, their offense looked very efficient. How concerned are you for the Pacers and the defense that's gotten better but still is vulnerable at times?
I'm not worried. They've been really good defensively. They've been physical. Turner's been good. Nesmith has been excellent defensive rebounding the entire playoffs. He had 13 rebounds in Game 5. He led the team. I'm not worried. I think the Pacers match up well with the Knicks, really. I think you go 1 through 5, and the Pacers have an answer for everybody. I'm not saying that I don't know if they're as good of a defensive team as the Knicks are, but they've been a top 10 defensive team the entire second half of the season. If you look at numbers, you look at how they've performed. I mean, they held that Cavs team, the highest scoring team in the league, to under 105, I think, all but 2 games. I mean, you got to speak for that. And that was you can say whatever you want. Hunter and Garland were out there. They were playing. If you're healthy enough to be playing, there's no excuse. The injury is not an excuse when you're in the lineup, in my opinion. You got through it. You've got players that are playing on much worse. It's
same with the Celtics. No excuses.
No, there is no excuse. They just weren't the better team in the series.
Neither one of those teams was going to win, even if there weren't injuries. I don't think.
To be quite honest with you, I think over the course of the year, I think the 2 best teams in the Eastern Conference are here. I do. I think the Pacers got off to a slow start. They've been one of the best teams record wise since the turn of the new year. I think their winning percentage is above 700. They belong. That this team belongs here, and the Knicks do too. The Knicks are a good basketball team. I know that the rivalry, but you've got to give them their flowers. They are really good. Brunson is a real threat. He's good. I don't think that you can sit here and say that the Pacers don't belong and that the 2 best teams are not here. The 2 best teams are in the Eastern Conference Finals. I feel firm about that.
Question number 2, who's the 4th most likely team to win the NBA championship?
I think the Timberwolves. I don't think that they've kind of overachieved where they probably should have. I know that Western Conference was stacked where there was like 2 wins were the difference between the 3 and 6 seed. But I think if you were to say the Timberwolves were going to the finals at the beginning of the year, everybody would have kind of been like, yeah, that's likely not going to happen. I think that they belong. They beat the Warriors. Curry not being there, I think kind of does. I've never been somebody that says that injuries illegitimize because everybody's overcoming injuries. Just like I said with the Pacers, everybody's playing with something. It's not an excuse, but the Warriors' only chance of winning that series was Steph Curry, and the second that he was out for any substantial amount of time, that they didn't have any chance. They had no chance of winning. So we'll see. We'll see. Obviously,
they're the least likely because they're the least likely to come out of the conference final.
Yeah, I mean they are. They are the least likely to come out of the conference finals. I think to be honest, I think the Eastern Conference is winning it.
Wow.
I think Pacers or Knicks. I think they're gonna win the finals.
I was about to say. I assume that then it's Knicks 3, Pacers 2, Thunder 1. No, you're saying Pacers 1.
I think it's a coin flip. I said it on when we talked after the game. Everybody was confident Pacers in 6, and I'm confident the Pacers are going to win the series. But I do think this series is a coin flip. It's going to be who's healthy, if there are any injuries, and who's not available from night to night. And are the Pacers able to play their style of basketball? If the Pacers are able to run and gun, get out in transition, and get a lot of easy buckets that way, the way that they've been able to do the last 2 series, they're gonna run the Knicks out of the gym. The Knicks don't have the bench to match. The Pacers once again have a huge bench advantage. I think you saw in that Cleveland series, everybody talked how good Cleveland's bench had developed throughout the course of the year. They didn't show up. The Pacers bench outplayed them every game outside of one.
So right now, Will Retherford says Pacers over Thunder for the championship.
I honestly am saying Pacers over Thunder. I don't think the Thunder have had to play anybody. I think that both of these Eastern Conference teams, we say the West is a juggernaut. The Nuggets were okay, but nobody went into Game 7 thinking the Nuggets were winning that game. They weren't. And the Thunder showed that. The Thunder have not had to work all that hard. In the similar way that I don't think Cleveland had to work very hard before they played the Pacers, and Boston really didn't have to work hard before they played the Knicks. They're the 2 most physical teams are the Pacers and Knicks left, and I think they can both go with. I don't think the Knicks have a chance. I don't think the Knicks can beat the Thunder, because I just think that this Pacers series going 7 and then having to go play the Thunder right after, who can also roll 10, 11 guys off the bench with little to no drop-off, is going to be taxing for them. Their hope is that the Timberwolves win and they're just not, that Brunson can be lights out. But if it's the Pacers Thunder, I think the Pacers are winning the series.
I think the Thunder win easily because they are a high IQ basketball team and the Timberwolves are a low IQ basketball team.
Yeah, no, I think the Thunder to me, 90% are winning the series, I would say. And then, I don't know, 55-45 Pacers Knicks. I don't know. It's going to be excellent television. It should be fought in a Walmart parking lot. It's going to be a battle of physicality, a grit, determination, who can lock down and play defense better.
Question number 3. First of all, let's make this a side question. How crazy was qualifying day?
It was nuts.
Is that the weirdest poll day you've ever seen?
It was. Nothing ever surprises it. The 500's like Wrigley Field. You just never know. There's voodoo magic, black magic that happens on the track where, for whatever reason, some cars just don't come out and perform with drivers that you expect to perform. I would say that a rookie winning the pole position, I didn't see that coming.
It's not just a rookie. Will, this is a rookie who came from out of nowhere. No, he was not a star.
Prima Racing,
an Israeli. We've never seen an Israeli before at this level. Prima Racing's never raced on an oval before. Monday they couldn't even get the car out of the garage. Will,
I think
on Monday they were the most likely team to be bumped.
I think that this is this gives me very Ed Carpenter Racing vibes. Whatever.
Sure.
They're always in the top. They've got 2 cars that are there.
They're not a contender on Sunday, which is going to be my next question.
And Prima they're not a contender. He has no chance.
Of course.
He has no chance.
What a great story.
Though. It's an awesome story that he won the pole. But we say crazy, but really outside of him,
pretty crazy.
I don't know. I think that
no Penske's or Ganassi's in the top row.
No, that's not because
But that's what's crazy about it, Will.
But it's not like we've said it. This series is the parity is ridiculous.
I'm stunned. I thought the first 2 rows would be all Penske and Ganassi. You've got 12 racers in front of Team Penske that you could say belong to be there. I'm not saying Penske's not the. Well, now you've got 31 cars in front of.
You also have a situation with Team Penske where I don't always think they do well out of the pole position. They don't win out of the grid. They win about 6, 7, 8. When Erickson and Newgarden have won, they've not been up there. They've been in that second row or further back. I don't think it makes that big of a difference. On
Sunday, Joseph Newgarden's going to have to win from the 33rd position.
Which I still would. Today. I would love to. Whatever the betting odds are, if there's anybody that could win out of 33rd at the 500, it's Joseph Newgarden.
Ian Will Power. I think both up. Probably not Power as much anymore, but doesn't really matter where they are on the grid, does it?
No, it doesn't matter at all. They're both going to finish. If they complete the race, they're finishing top 10.
All right, probably. So fifth most likely to win the 500 on Sunday, Will.
My fifth. I like Erickson. I like that 9th position. I like 7 through 9. I think that guys, it's a comfortable spot where you can come out those first 28 laps and you can kind of conserve fuel and you kind of don't have to run your tires crazy and stuff. You can kind of get away with it. It also, I always think what's so fascinating about the 500, especially now that you've got to run on the alternate and the primary tires, is, what's the tire strategy? What's the track condition going to like? Because you'll get somebody that'll come out in the red caps and maybe, they'll get their couple laps and then they come right back and they get the black caps on. And it's just, I think the strategy, especially with the tires, with the track conditions, I don't know. It's not going to be excellent weather. It's going to be kind of cool. It's going to be drafty, I'm sure, in the course. So I'm going to be curious to see how that plays a role. But Ericsson's a champion. I think champions, once you've got that monkey off your back, it makes you free. He's been there the last 5 years. He's finished super well. So he's got to be at least top 5, and honestly, he's probably should be higher than 5. But I just think that he's. You
look at the four. You look at the 4 main. I think there are 4 top contenders who are kind of on their own. So,
I mean, maybe, but that's the thing is that it doesn't. Your contender could crash out lap 10.
Sure.
And I trust Erickson.
If it doesn't come down to Pillow, Dixon, Newgarden, or Award, I'll be stunned.
Yeah, I mean those are my next 5.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's who's number 5. That's the question. But there are a lot of. It doesn't mean, Will, that there aren't 15 guys who can win.
There are 15 guys that could win it. I think Scott McLaughlin at 10 is somebody that is kind of right there. He's
except for that last we saw him, he was upside down. That's hard to come back from. Car wise,
he can do it. It's Team Penske's highest placer. I think that you don't like to say there's favorites on a team, but I wouldn't say that Newgarden and Power are going to be the main targets down there at the bottom, at least not until the race shakes out and they start to settle in and stuff. They're going to run McLaughlin hard. They're going to run him to win. He's their best chance. He's in the 10th spot. I mean, the numbers, the percentages of Power and Newgarden winning are low. I mean, from 32 and 33. I would take the betting odds for sure, but I just think McLaughlin's going to get Team Penske's best probably, and that to me warrants probably a conversation of like, hey, he's a real contender. So I think him and Erickson probably toggle that second tier. Right, they're at the top of that second tier of like, if the first 4 don't win, this is where we're going next. I think 4 is Dixon. It's a great story. He's so good at Indy. He just never seems to be able to, the last 30 laps, he just seems to.
Feels like he's going to win one, though, doesn't it? Still, to this day, it just feels like he's going to win one.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't feel like his career will be. I don't know. There'll be a finality to it at the 500 unless he does win again. But I don't know. With this field, it's awful tough. It's only getting more competitive. His best chance to win this race was probably 6-7 years ago. Now it's a lot harder because the caliber. Not to say the racers weren't great then, but just everybody is. And the technology's got so good, and these small teams have access to the same resources that the big teams always had, and that just makes a huge difference. It plays a huge role. And so, yeah, it's tough. But he's 4 for me. He's starting at 4th. He's not going to be Chip Ganassi's golden boy. I mean, they're going to run Pillow to win, would be my guess.
But he's better on that track historically.
Yeah, but there's bravado and swagger right now with Pillow that is. I mean, he's
next level,
the most dominant guy. We'll get to him in a second. I think Newgarden is 3rd. I still, running at 33. When they put all the chips on him last year and they said, this guy's an ass, he doesn't belong, he's a cheater, this, that, the other. He came back and he won. And I think that is something that can happen today. I'm not sure. I do think there's going to be a little bit more that comes out of this situation than what we're hearing. It's strange. I think Bulls probably did the right thing. They were in the top 30, so they were. I think it's tough to remove them from the race. I think that sets a precedent that they don't want. But there is something to be said with been a couple problems with New Garden, and people don't like that. The Indy fans don't like that. I don't think it's anything malicious on his part. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. If you're not looking for an advantage somewhere, if you were to go look at all those cars in the paddock, you're going to sit here and tell me that all of them are to uniform standards with everything. No, they're modifying, they're tinkering, they're getting away with what they can because that's how you win. That's the competitive edge. If you're not doing that, you're staying stagnant, and the competition is. So they got caught, they got reprimanded, they got punished. I would move on, and I'd still, whatever the odds are, whatever his, I'd hammer it because it's the best bet. You're not going to get a guy that has a better chance of winning with better odds. Let's put it that way. And then I think Two's Pato, he's run so well. It feels like he was the next guy. He was the next guy before Pelot just kind of took off to the stratosphere. It was Pato was in that conversation of Formula One coming and potentially
and Pato's doing it with a new team
and
with a brand new team that he was with. It's a lot different than what Pelot's dealing with.
Well, I mean that's true, but Aaron McLaren's been around a while too. I mean we're getting to like year 10 that they've been
5 years they've been serious.
But they've run at the 500. They've run at the 500 for 10 years. I don't care about the rest of the series. They're trying to win this race specifically and they've had experience. They're not some mom and pop organization anymore.
Well, of course not. McLaren's been around since the 60s. Maybe 50s.
Yeah, I mean I think he's too. He's so good. He's starting at third. He finished second and led a bunch of and was the second lap leader at the Grand Prix, which I don't know how much stock you put in it. It's a completely different race, but it's fun to talk about. But it's him, and then one by a miles, Pelot. I still think if I were to take the field or Pelot, I'd take Pelot. I think before the field. He's that dominant. He's that good.
I'll take the field for sure, but you might be right that he's number one.
It doesn't matter. He's one that's not close. He's one, and second is not even at the bottom of his feet. That's how top to bottom. If he's the best racer in the world, he's the best. He's the best racer. Open wheel, closed wheel, Formula One, NASCAR.
Never won an oval.
If there's a time to do it, it's now.
I know. That's why I wouldn't even come close to taking him against the field. Not even close.
I don't.
But I would probably take him as the favorite. He's
got the pedigree now. He's the betting favorite, and he has to be. He's the best. He's been the best driver, and sometimes the first 4 races don't really put a whole lot. You'll have a guy that's not even cracked the top 10 that wins the 500. It's just a different beast. But Chip Ganassi's got experience. He's running Dario's legacy in the 10 car. Yeah, I don't think that any situation on ovals that's been a problem with him, I think is merely circumstance. It's not.
Well, that's for sure.
It's not that the team is not prepared.
It's not that he's not a good oval driver.
It's not that he's not a great driver. It's
sure.
Circumstance. It's whatever. So we'll see. I mean, it's chess out there. It's gas. It's tires. It's where do you want to lead? When do you want to draft? There's so much that plays into it. It's so much different than any other race on the series.
I agree with you. Pelot's the most likely to win, but I'm going to take Dixon. It's just a feeling.
Yeah,
just a feeling.
Yeah, I don't.
He's kind of owed one. Not that the people who are owed one usually win at Indy, because that's not usually how it works. Because there are a lot of guys who are owed one who never got it. So
Ed Carpenter being one who I think deserves probably to win.
Of course,
hometown guy.
There are a lot of those, but as far as Dixon, how many times? Second 3 times, and how many other times was he in the contention and late in the race? 4 other times?
We're going to talk about, I think this is the first year that I truly think that Connor Daly is not just a dame in the 33. I think that he's led laps. He's
good around the track, that's for sure.
It's a hell of a story. He knows the track like the back of his hand.
And he's the official driver of the Central Indiana Sports
Yes,
Report.
and so it's great that we got his name in there.
Yep.
But I think
he'll be the one I'm cheering for. Sure.
He was just out of the shootout. I mean, he was just out of going for the top 9, and I mean, he was I think a car length finishing behind McLaughlin. So,
and now he's starting 11th. So,
yep, he's starting 11th. Yeah, who? McLaughlin's
Daly?
10.
Yeah, so he's 11th. Yeah.
McLaughlin's 10, Daly's 11. So, yeah, I mean, he's absolutely a guy that I think has a dark horse kind of guy to throw something on. Yeah, he's somebody that has, I think, learned the track. He's paid his dues. He's been the bottom feeder for 8 years, was just a hometown favorite because he's from Noblesville. But I think that he's actually a guy that you can say, hey, it's not just a shot in the dark chance.
He's a really good racer on ovals, that's for sure.
He is. He's a great oval racer.
He's as good as any of them up there.
Yep.
Now, otherwise, he's not. We understand that. But
I think
on
ovals, he's in that second tier. He's probably in that second tier of oval drivers, similar to where Ed Carpenter is probably in that second tier. Still, probably in that second tier of oval drivers. So, I'd love to see it. It would be just a hell of a story if he was able to pull it off. It'd be an absolute underdog, probably
1 being least likely, 10 being most likely. Tell me these drivers, their chances of winning the 500.
Okay.
Alio's 5th.
3.
Kyle Larson.
3.
Alexander Rossi.
5.
It's changed a little from last week.
He's 1.
Yeah.
He's 1 there.
Ryan Hunter-Ray.
1.
Yeah, I love Dreyer and Reinbold. That would be such a cool story. I think the only team still around from the original Indy Racing League.
Yeah.
And they're an Indy only. That'd be really cool if they won the race. But, yeah, that's not likely to happen.
1. If he wins, maybe 32 other guys probably crashed out. He was the last car on the track. Lightning McQueen kind of opening scene kind of situation.
Stanley Cup Finals. We're also down to the Final Four. Who's most likely to win? Starting with number 4.
I don't know. I think there's a strong argument for all 4 of these teams probably to get there. I trust Edmonton's goaltending the least, so I guess them. They're a complete team. They finally have a blue line that can be the backbone and not just give up, Swiss cheese goals all the time. Their goaltending's still weak. It's going to depend on. I'm not sure on Calvin Pickard what his status is, if he's going to be back. I don't trust Stu Skinner at all. That Vegas game. They stole a couple games in overtime. When a hockey game gets to overtime, it's a coin flip. It's an absolute coin flip. You have no clue who's going to win that. 3, I guess Dallas, because I think the winner's out of the Eastern Conference. So Dallas, I guess. Heiskanen came back. And Robertson came back. They've been good. Obviously, the Moose, as Mikko Rantanen, has just been an absolute game changer for that and just the organization and hockey in general. It's so nice to see him not under McKinnon's shadow anymore, and to just see kind of how good and gifted of a hockey player he actually is. He's so damn physical. He's built like a brick shit house. He plays so good in the seam. He's on a bender. He's on a heater right now, and that's got to speak for something. He's playing great. Jamie Benn's been there forever. Their blue line's good. They've got strong leadership. I think Dallas wins. Dallas wins the series, but I think they're either one of those or maybe getting fed to the Wolves with the East. The Caniacs just embarrassed.
So who wins the East then?
I'm rolling with swamp hockey again. I mean, they
so
just
you beat them, right?
Until you're you got to beat the champ to be the champ, and
the Leafs couldn't do it. The Leafs couldn't kill him.
My cousin Derek's massive Leafs. I haven't even texted him. I know he's not probably very happy.
Let me ask you a question. Was he texting you as if they'd already won the series at any point?
No, I don't think he trusts them.
Okay.
He's realistic. I think he was probably pumped when they went up 2-0 and was like, hey, like, wow, okay. And then they go back to Sunrise and shit got real. And Panthers won 4 of the last 6.
And I tried to tell you, by the way, that the Hurricanes were going to beat the Capitals.
It just felt like the Capitals were kind of a team of destiny with everything that had happened. And the way Scott Dixon's your gut feeling, my gut feeling was, I just like the Cap story and the fact how good their blue line's been. But my God, the Hurricanes can just fill the net up.
And the Capitals couldn't even get shots off.
No, and their blue line was, I mean, Jacob Slavin, who is the backbone of Team USA. Mind you, he played phenomenal in that Four Nations Cup. He was America's best defenseman, without question. He's shut down. He's just absolutely shut down. They have a strong defensive forward game. They play, I mean, and that's I think that's where they might get a little exploited. The Caps kind of had problems scoring goals if it weren't Ovi, and that was a concern. And I don't know if I was probably speaking with heart more than head when I was said, give me the Caps. And I thought I was seeing the more clear. I was 50%. In hockey, I guess I'll take that because it might be the most unpredictable of any of the postseason.
Probably baseball.
Baseball is super unpredictable, and hockey are. But the NBA and the NFL always kind of fall in line with where they're supposed to. Hockey is completely different. I do think that the Canes are going to feel the Panthers in a way that outside of Tom Wilson and Ovi, the Caps are physical, but they're not overbearing the way the Panthers are just stifling. They are just so good.
There'll be a lot of defense in that series.
They are. I think if you were to build a hockey team from scratch, the Panthers are what you would build. You have gritty, stingy forwards who have just a bone to pick, it feels like, whenever they're pests. Kachuk and Marchand are both maybe the two of the best pests in the league. And then Sasha Barkov he's just a perennial Selke guy. He plays maybe the most complete two-way game in the league. He's the next coming of Jonathan Taves. I've said it for 3 years now that he's the closest player to Jonathan Taves I've seen, and he might be a little bit more skilled offensively. I do think the Canes have that to worry about, is the fact that the Panthers forwards are going to be able to play a little better the full 200 feet length of the ice as the better than the Caps did. And Bob, Freddie Anderson's phenomenal when he's healthy, but he's kind of in and out of the lineup a little bit, and that's concerning. But Bob's getting the net each night. I'm excited. That series is going to be. It's really fun because it is going to be a clash of style with the Caniacs just kind of filling the net up, and the Panthers doing a really good job of not having this. I forgot to mention Sam Bennett, just another absolute goon on the ice too. He's going to get a couple slew foots, couple elbows in there. Hockey's awesome. It's just awesome, and it sucks that you're going to be probably a little less invested now with the Caps not being in it, but yeah, I mean Sam Bennett's uber physical, kind of a gritty, dirty player, I guess, for lack of a better word. So I think the Canes have their hands full. The Panthers have been there, done that. I don't think the Panthers. You just saw it in Game 7. They were going to win. They're just going to win.
Thanks so much to Will for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report. Enjoy our talks every week. And thank you for listening. If you like what you hear and want to help us out, please consider sharing these podcasts with your friends and family and on social media. That would help us out an awful lot. Thank you so much. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I love Susie.